Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Fantasy Baseball Player Profiles. Today we're going to be looking at Gene Segura of the Seattle Mariners. Gene Segura is 27 years old, or he will be by opening day. His birthday's in March, and he has multiple position eligibility at second base and shortstop, thanks to playing a bunch of games at both positions last year. Now, ESPN is ranking Gene Segura at 60th overall. His average draft position is not up yet, and we'll update the video once that is up. He's the 12th ranked second baseman and the 8th ranked shortstop. Now, what's interesting is in 4x4 Roto last year, Segura's player rating was 11.47, which, if you're not familiar with ESPN's player rater, it basically assigns a number value to each of the categories in your league, and it spits out a final number that gives you an idea of how valuable a player is. Now, 11.47 is really good. In fact, by this measure, Gene Segura was the 5th ranked overall player last year in fantasy baseball. 5th ranked batter. So we'll dive into those numbers in a bit. He scored over 1,000 points in my custom points league. For those of you who aren't familiar, in our points league, we try to get as close to real life as possible. And you can check out in the description of the video how we assign points in that league. It's pretty similar to Fangraph's Otteneau fantasy scoring. Anyway, let's dive into these roto numbers. Last year, Segura had 637 ABs, played 153 games, so he's on the field a lot. 319 average, 102 runs, 20 home runs, 64 RBIs, 33 stolen bases, and for those of you in OBP leagues, 368 OBP. I mean, the guy had a monster season. We look at his splits. First half, 311, 358, 441. Second half, 329, 381, 572. Gene Segura played for the Arizona Diamondbacks last year. This year, he's playing for the Seattle Mariners. Different ballpark. Safeco is traditionally a harder ballpark to hit in than Chase Field is. But if you look at Segura's away splits last year, batted 312, 375, 468. Not too shabby. Little drop off in power. But other than that, the average and on-base percentage is pretty similar. No real platoon split. Walked a little bit more against righties. Didn't hit lefties quite as well, but still hit pretty well overall. And of course, he was the 5th ranked player last year, so you have to imagine he hit pretty well. So what's everyone saying about him this year? I looked at the Fangraphs projections where they kind of average a bunch of different projections. They throw in zips, they throw in steamer, all those things. And they're expecting a big drop off. 280, 76 runs, 13 home runs, 55 RBIs, 30 stolen bases still, and a 50-point drop in on base. Now, I'm going to take exception to the projections here. Gene Segura is entering his age 27 season. He's coming off a career year. Will he repeat last year? No, I don't think so. He was the 5th best player last year. Will he bat 319 again? Well, if we look down at the advanced metrics, his BABIP was 353, which is high. But he's a fast guy. He's really fast. That BABIP is by no means unsustainable. It could drop off. It could be 330. His rookie season, this will be his 5th year in the league this year. His rookie season, his BABIP was 320 something. And if you remember, a lot of people picked Gene Segura to have a bounce back year last year because he was dealing with all sorts of family issues. Had a kid, had a child pass away. A lot of people said that that was affecting his play and that he was going to come back and play better last year. Not only did he come back and play better, he was a superstar last year. Now, if you take away his second and third seasons and you just look at his rookie season and last year, you see a progression of a guy who had a great season and then had a phenomenal season. But because he had those crappy years in between, people are projecting him to fall back to those numbers. I don't see it. His home run per fly ball rate was a little bit high, 13.5%. That'll probably drop down. It'll regress a little bit. So they're saying he's going to hit 13 home runs this year instead of 20. He was in Chase Field last year. He's in Safeco this year. Um, yeah, I buy that. 13, maybe that's a little bit low though. If you look at the park factors for Safeco, it was sixth in home runs last year. Now it wasn't a great run scoring environment. It was 20th overall, and I think Chase was the second best overall. But he may not drop off that much in home runs. Now you got to take park factors with a grain of salt. There were a lot of home run hitters on the Seattle Mariners last year. Cano hit a ton of home runs. Cruz hit a ton of home runs. Seager hit a ton of home runs. There's some power in that lineup, and so the park may have less to do with the home run. The park factors may be a little bit skewed because of the amount of home run hitters in there. But that being said, doesn't mean you can't hit home runs in that park. And again, Segura's entering his age 27 season. We expect a power spike from him. So you may not see that much of a drop off in home runs. I'd peg him at about 15, if not closer to 20. I don't see below 15 though. His walk rate was 5.6%, also a career high, but not crazy. He had another year with 5%. So this drop off in OBP, is directly attributable to what they're saying is going to be a drop off in batting average. So you really have to consider whether or not you think he's going to hit as well as he did last year. And 280 is pretty low for a guy with his speed. He squares up the ball. His exit velocity is 89.9 miles an hour. It's his average. To put that into context, Chris Bryant has the same exit velocity. The guy squares up the ball, hits it, and he's got speed. However many ground balls he hits, he's got the speed to be able to get those infield hits. He's got the patience to be able to walk and get on base. Will his BABIP be 353? I don't know. It's sustainable. It might be 340. It might be 330. If it's 340 or 330, it's a matter of how many times he gets the bat on the ball. He only strikes out 14.6% of the time. That's well below league average. So he makes contact. I don't see the regression being as severe as Fangraphs does. I don't see his ranking of 60 being fair. The guy was fifth overall last year. Why is he going to score 25 fewer runs? He's in a lineup with a lot of power. He's in a lineup with a lot of hitters that are going to be behind him. He's going to have Cano behind him, Cruz behind him, Seager behind him. All those guys are gonna drive him in. I wouldn't peg him at 76 runs scored. I'd peg him somewhere closer to 100 again. Even if his on base drops a little bit, he's probably still going to score 100 runs. That lineup that he's in is much better than the lineup that he was in last year. RBIs, are hit and miss. I don't know who the ninth place batter is going to be in that Mariners lineup. It might be Gerard Dyson. I don't know. They might bat him first above Segura, but I imagine that Dyson's going to bat last. But that's still going to be a pretty decent bottom of the lineup. You're going to have Danny Valencia, Dan Vogelback, and um, Dyson and Zanino rounding out. Now Zanino gets on base, so and so does Valencia, and presumably Vogelback will too. So I think 55 RBIs is a decent projection. Could be up a little bit. It's going to be a good lineup. It's going to be a really good lineup. The other reason why I'm not too hot on the projections here is because of his away numbers last year. Segura batted 312, 375, 468 away. Um, it wasn't just because he was playing in Chase Field that he hit well. He hit well everywhere last year. He hit well against righties. He hit well against lefties. If you want to take an average of his away split and his platoon split against the lefty, you're still coming out with about a 300 average. You're coming out with about a 350 on base, and a 440 to 450 slugging percentage. That which is about his first half statistics last year. So I'm going to peg him right around 300. I'm going to peg his on base percentage right around 350 and his slugging percentage around 450. And that's going to give you somebody who's ranked much higher than 60th, and he's going to be much higher than the 12th overall second baseman, and he's going to be much higher than the 8th overall shortstop. So my recommendation is Green for go. I think he's underrated. And if you can get him anywhere around that ESPN ranking of 60, I'd do it. Um, in a recent mock draft that I did, he went 72nd overall, which is a steal. Um, he's not going to hurt you in any category. He's plus average, plus runs. Home runs he didn't hurt you in last year. I don't think he'll hurt you this year either. RBIs he really didn't hurt you last year. And stolen bases, of course, he got 30 stolen bases. I could see him. I could see him getting more stolen bases this year. I'm not sure what the Mariners' philosophy is going to be. They didn't steal a lot last year, but they did bring in Dyson and they brought in Segura now. I think they're going to be more active on the base paths. So we'll see. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening to my player profile on Gene Segura. Please like my page. Please subscribe for more player profiles. And see you guys on the flip side.